All right, just going live from the current location, just to discuss a few topics of conversation with a distorted image for physical appearance. This is not how I look, and posture as such leniently relaxed. There's a lot that needs to be discussed about the fundamentals of ethics of some of our work, and nobody has sent us contracts for collaborative efforts, therefore there are no consents. As far as me and husband and our partnerships with Lacombe and, well, as the owners of Lacombe and Starbucks and Saxby's, and the fact that I've been to all of these locations here in this county municipality and have been treated like shit by every single staff member. And I'm a very beautiful white woman that appears to be clean, like immaculate and pristine, to be very honest. Even though I wouldn't consider that to be how I appear, I don't know if there are testimonials that could become available. But still very humble and not self-righteous, not entitled, not walking around with a superiority complex. And the lack of professionalism and the scum that has been normalized as some sort of social etiquette and standard of existence and quality of life and prognosis is beyond offensive, disheartening, disappointing, devastating, detrimental, tragic, traumatic, and of extreme concern. And we cannot continue these ventures, this route, that way. People that work at our cafes don't have the right to say, when I was standing in my living room, bitch, you shouldn't have enough money to own a physical structure to have a living room. You should be in a shoebox. That's the reality. When we try to explain to people the cafes gave you your life, you don't deserve your life. So my husband might be the most accurate historian of the conversations with Howard of we need this information. You don't have the right to own a vehicle. You don't have the right to participate in the aesthetics of cosmetics for your hair. You don't have that right. So if you want to look at history, and there's some people that can self-admittedly acknowledge, I've got clinical problems. This is an interim phase in my life. I've chosen this job opportunity because I need the professional development and I can't expect to live for free. And I take this very seriously and I wouldn't risk losing this job. There are so many people that would never even know how to get to that destination with themselves. They don't have the cognition to even realize they're a problem. We don't believe in punishing people at all. The way that we discuss this in the most maturationally respectful way possible is mentorship. That was how we attempted to expand the ethics of economics, behavioral economics, and cognitive function. That's how we attempted to explain that. So without slavery, there was the draft, right? And even when there was slavery, there was the draft. That should help people distinguish certain standards, right? So the way that certain topics have been weaponized this is just a waste. And we do have to look to the people that ran for office to be political leaders. What were you lobbying for? What were you campaigning for? Because you've done nothing to stop the detriment of society on our land that we didn't give you permission to be on. And that's not for sale and has never been for sale. So the lack of cleanliness, like as far as like whether or not there's personal protective equipment. And if people want to expand their vocabulary word list, that's please go right ahead. Personal protective equipment and cleaning equipment and supplies and the orientation process. We are within our rights to say, you know what, our probation period for our company is this time frame. We've decided we don't want you here. We don't want to give you health benefits, none of that. The fact that these people can't even practice good hand hygiene, let alone their own professional appearance hygiene standards, and they have health insurance, are you kidding me? And you can't even make sure that our restroom is clean and stocked with soap that people can't stick a needle into. You can't provide the sheets for the med supply company that's supposed to change out the Sharps container. And then you think you have the right to curse out and be rude to our customers and then try to kick me off the property? Where are we at with the counterattacks? So they have to pay us back every single penny they've ever been paid, in addition to federal charges. And without additional information, I don't have any other. I would stay away from opinion. We've gotten as much, we have enough, there's overwhelming evidence. And as far as our older brothers and family members that were told that we were dead, we don't fault them for bereavement and figuring out management of the corporations during our absence, but this can't continue this way. I don't know if we would merge all of the, like Lacombe, Saxby's, and Starbucks and just rebrand Market or evolve, merge these cafes to like one cafe, I don't know. And then use the accounts to rebrand and remarket and evolve that like one, this is one large business or one large corporation with a few entities, if that's the right way to say that, to describe that kind of business model, where merger acquisition, but all finances are on the books, aside from it, in consideration to miscellaneous expenses, tax write-offs, like how we file our taxes, jurisdiction for land ownership and permanent residence versus, we have permanent residence everywhere. So we've, as far as where we should be accepting tax dollars, it should be from everywhere. We're owed a lot of money. So as far as downsizing and movement of tiny homes and how that physical real estate property development topic of conversation needs to go is a very, very, very real, relevant, significant, poignant priority topic that needs to be discussed. Because with that, the plumbing has to meet efficiency standards. So people should be able to live in small physical structures and not have infection control problems unless they're to be on droplet precautions or positive and negative pressure air room. So we do need to evaluate. We see examples of the dorms here and they're fine. I mean, there's, I don't know if there's doubles or triples, but the students in the dorms are fine. There's never, they have their vaccines that they need to get. So that's like housing that kind of needs to go that route. The statistics of who went to college, who didn't go to college, so who got certain, there's a certain, for people that live in dorms, you have to get a certain vaccine. And we don't know the correlation between how many people live in high-rise apartments. If they go to undergrad or graduate programs, they have a certain kind of vaccine profile. We don't know domestically here to the United States and internationally. As Sean said, infection control was well contained until someone that had an obsession with flatulence, incontinence, and lack of hygiene gained a certain kind of power by saying that certain people were dead and embezzling their money. So there needs to be a certain kind of flora and bacteria, or I don't know if certain infectious diseases were just underreported. We don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to defame or slander. This is just the harsh truth and reality. The most offensive cafe was the Starbucks on 39th. So I don't really want to discuss this any further because this is not a game, but we've gotten as much information as we've been able to get to date. And Colin's behavior was completely unacceptable, and I don't know where our brother is at with that, but we respect our brother, so we're not going to discuss that any further either. But we don't, initially we didn't know if he did or didn't recognize us. We weren't projecting. We didn't have our older brother's information. This was the attempts to incapacitate were very severe, and we had to remain objective because there's too many variables and factors, unfortunately, associated with that brother that are problematic because of who mothered his children. And I'm sorry to have to say that. And the family, we don't know the exact boundaries he has with his children and their mother, but we would never disrespect that. So we didn't even know that he would want a relationship with us, to be very honest. We didn't know what he was. We're saying that respectfully. Sometimes people grow apart, and if he would prioritize his children over us, we would not be offended. I mean, we'd be saddened, right, that this has been so cruel, and it's just unfortunate. But if that was his choice, we would respect his choice and just move on. So we're not saying we want that to be the situation. We're saying in our family that we respect that some people might decide that for whatever reason, prior to our birth, the damage is too severe. So we don't, of course, we hope that's not the situation, but when we first arrived there, we were at a different stage of crisis management. So these people take so much for granted, and this is just not a productive conversation any further anymore. We had wondered, we'd have to sterilize the physical structures, but we might consider shutting down these cafes and just using them as private residences. Because this is the most move-in ready that we've got. But when we consider what's been going on through the vents and but the illegal use of our facilities after hours, we are not willing to risk exposure. So been trying to coordinate this so that whenever we're unified with my husband and our brothers, that we have somewhere to be safely. I don't know if our brothers want to allow our dads, or if our dads want us to. I don't know how they want to set up the space because everyone, well, I wouldn't make an assumption, but people can articulate their grievances very efficiently, and people might need space. So we were looking at a few spaces because people might just need to go off for a walk and disappear indefinitely, or they might just want to shut out the world for a little bit. They may not, the noise and the sound pollution, we don't know, and not be bothered. So figuring out if we can put kitchenettes and like everything that needs to be in place to stay remotely for a few years, indefinitely. We didn't know. We were trying to figure out the space needed for that in a few different locations. But it seems that a lot of our family is here actually. So, or there's a large number of people that might be here that would maybe reevaluate, reassess, and reconsider. Me and my husband, we do want our private time, but I don't know how to better explain that. We don't know when people will be ready for quality time. We hope to find a more, we always remain committed to integrity and respect. We just haven't seen that shown to us. But we will discuss these controversial, very like relevant topics that we need to bring to the forefront as the basis for why people can no longer, our hiring standards cannot be associated with people with those kinds of characteristics and attributes.